How much HR do I need? I get asked that question so many times, but based on the size of company and based on the complexity of the company, this answer is very different across the board, even in the small business arena. So I thought I'd go through a suite of options that we have for our clients, from the smallest client to the largest client that we service, that may help you figure out which one is right for you. So I'll start with our employee size of 5 to 50. Now, this is a great sweet spot for our HR Compass product. And an HR Compass product gives you 3 to 10 hours a month of a high-level HR director's help. They can do execution, meaning they can do things with you, or they can do thought leadership, writing policies, handling strategy meetings, those kind of things. So they're doers and they're thinkers. These people pair nicely with your controller, with your EA, with yourself as the owner, whoever is actually handling that HR right now and doing all the HR things for your company. This person provides that level of support that brings that HR knowledge in the company so that you know you're doing things right. So for that next larger company, perhaps the company's 30 to 80 employees, this is where you probably need more than 3 to 10 hours a month of support. You probably need a part-time HR person. Now, this person could sit in your company, for example, if you have a manufacturing company, or they could be remote. This is probably 10 to 20 hours a week of somebody. And you're finding at this level and this number of employees now, you might need a little bit more hand-holding. You need more than just a little bit of HR. Now you're needing to have somebody sit in on reviews. You're having to really have some of the more complexity, and especially as you get into that 50 mark, which is where we see a lot of the new laws come in for the 50 size companies. So with that, we think that going from a compass where that's for the smaller business to a part-time HR is the right thing to do. Now, these HR people, these part-time HR people, we can find for you. They can sit on our payroll or they can sit on your payroll. So that's a good option for that size company. When you get to a company 60 to 150, now that is the time for a full-time HR person. We're going to need to do a full-time search. We're going to either look for a generalist, or we're going to look for a manager, or we're going to look for a director for you, depending upon the size and scope of your company. And we can help you determine what level that is. One thing we're doing right now that we think is just really fun is that we are hiring HR generalists for companies, maybe a full-time or a part-time HR generalist, which is a lower level HR employee, not the level of a coordinator, which is more clerical, but an employee that has 3 to 5 years of HR experience. Is a little less expensive than the managers and obviously than the directors, but we pair them with our HR Compass product, which gives them 3 hours to 10 hours a month of that HR director. So you get to hire a less expensive HR generalist, full-time or part-time, and then you layer that upon somebody who has that HR director skill. This also gives somebody, if you have the generalists that are younger and don't have as much experience, this gives them somebody to learn from so they can grow into that HR person that they want to be and that you need them to be. It also gives them somebody they can ask questions of, because there's some complexity in HR these days. Believe it or not, it's hard for us to keep up with it all. And it needs somebody at that level. So anyway, I love the pairing thing where we place both together. Then our executive search comes into play when we've got, kind of a very high level search. Now, this may be a CHRO for a fairly large company, 150 and up, or even down to 100 employees could be a CHRO search, depending upon the complexity of the organization. We attach 2 recruiters to those executive searches, as well as myself. I'm involved in those so that we make sure that we've got the absolute perfect employee, because that's a pretty high-level position and very important in your company. And then I wanted to talk about one other thing, because I think this often helps employers figure out what they need. We have a thing called the HR assessment and roadmap. I used to call it the HR audit, but they said it sounded too much like a financial audit. But basically, that's what it is. It's an audit of your HR systems. It goes over 12 points of HR. It goes over compliance, day-to-day HR, and strategy. It tells you how things are in your company, what you need to work on, what may be going really well. And then, again, it shows a focus for the next 12 months. So it'll show you what you need to do on a 12-month basis out. If we were in your company, what we think your priorities should be. In addition to that, it tells you what kind of HR person you need. So do you need that full-time person paired with a part-time person? Do you need one person? Do you need just that 3-hour a month level of support? And so that audit, called the assessment and roadmap, really helps you make that determination. So with all of the things we have to offer, from the smallest company with 2 employees, that's our smallest HR Compass product or company that we have. They have 2 employees and they use our bronze level of Compass at $500 a month, all the way up to our large companies where we're hiring them CHROs and then also additional people to round out their HR department. So in all of those ways, we can help your company, and we would love to talk with you and figure out how best to do that.